Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer quick match gameplay. This time around I am playing as the Beastmen against the Vampire Counts led by Rio on the map Galbaraz. So, without further ado, this is a fairly straightforward Beastmen build. I did want to try some of their new units out. I am of course running Morghur with State of Ruinous Corruption so that he can summon all those extra Chaos Spawn. And otherwise, this is a pretty, I think, standard build. In my front line, I have 4 units of Morghurs. These will trade pretty effectively with the majority of Vampire account units. They dish out a lot of hurt to low armor units. Behind them, I do have 2 units of Bestigors, and in the middle, the Koroks Man Rippers, which are the new Regiment of Renown. These guys are, of course, anti-large, and they're kind of the centerpiece of my army, ready to flex against any large units, because vampires do tend to bring quite a few of those. And then behind that, a single unit of Ungor Spears. Basically, I had some leftover points, so I decided to take some of these. These should at least help protect my Cygor, who is kind of the centerpiece of my army right here, alongside Morghur. And this is, of course, the Eye of Morghurs, so this is the Regiment of Renown. And that has Warp Gaze, then that can, of course, shut down enemy units for sort of like a net or a effigy at the gate. Over here on the flank, I do have 2 Centaurs with great weapons, one of which is the Sons of Goros, which is the Regiment of Renown with armor, and I figured that the armor could be useful against some Vampire anti-large, because a lot of Vampire anti-large is not armor piercing. Even Blood Knights actually aren't armor piercing, so definitely something nifty there. And Chaos Warhounds with poison right over here. And this was kind of a goon squad I had here in the front, hoping to maybe get some flanks and attacks in, but that didn't really work out. My opponent, on the other hand, is running the Manfred von Skarstein, the big man himself, over here on a undead, on a zombie dragon, and it does look like he has brought Invocation of the Heck, which is kind of the standard, Wind of Death, Fate of Buna, Spirit Leech, and of course Master of the Black Arts, and all his various kit. Yeah, Red Fury, Undead Resurgence, so very, very strong lineup there. 2 Vargals, definitely a bit of an interesting pick there, I think, because I don't see these very often. But they do have quite a bit of mass. They can power through enemy forces very effectively, and then cause a bit of terror, and they're definitely very disruptive, very hard to shut down. They have regen. Then a unit of Vargeists up in the air, and 2 units of Bats. Once again, against the squishy Beastmen units, these aren't necessarily too bad. And behind them, just a blob of infantry, and this is a very mixed bag. 3 units of Graveguard make up the center. 2 units of Skeleton Spears are kind of tailing behind, ready to flex against any large units. And here on the sides, we have a mix of Crypt Ghouls with Skeleton Warriors ranked up pretty heavily. Just there to provide some poison support, and hopefully bust through my infantry line. You can see the first rocks coming in from the Eye of Morghurs over there, aiming for the Graveguard. Don't even think I got it. Yeah, I didn't even pick out a bottle, unfortunately missed. As you can see here, I'm pulling my Morghurs back because I realize they're not really going to be able to contest very much against large, so I do push the Koroks Man Rippers forward. And almost immediately, I'm going to start pulling my Centaurs back and the Hounds back. And currently, they're just moving, which is unfortunate. They should have, most likely, I should have had them running. The Graveguard's taken a meaty hit over here, lost a few models. Actually 13, so pretty significant hit. And I'm still lobbing rocks at my opponent's units, so slowly just trying to whittle them down a little bit. Over here, I do believe my opponent is trying to get or was possibly posturing to get a nice Wind of Death in, but he ends up diving into the Bestigors. I do try to surround him. You can see some nasty poison breath there going down on my infantry. My units are just trying to mob Manfred, and you can see I'm moving my Ungor Spears toward him. Just trying to get on top of him, and they actually dish out quite a bit of hurt. Bestigors do armor piercing, they're a pretty strong unit. More rocks being thrown at the Graveguard, but not getting anything near as powerful of a hit as before. My cavalry has finally kind of gotten back into the main infantry block. Seeing that my opponent's infantry is coming forward, I am pushing my Gors forward because I want them to absorb the charge. I don't want my main Vestigor line to eat the attack. And then seeing the Graveguard in the front, I decided to pull him back again. So a bit of dancing around there. And as you can see, at point blank, the Eye of Morghurs whiffs a shot on the Graveguard. Absolutely pathetic. And now my opponent's infantry is just plowing straight into my units. And yeah, those look like a rock actually hit these Vargeists, which is pretty funny, and took a model off. And here you can see Graveguard getting stuck in with Bestigors. Bestigors will do very well against the Graveguard. Wind of Death being thrown down here. And I don't actually think... I realized that it's a little too far down, and so I decided not to move my units out of the way, but these Bestigors definitely pay for it. As you can see, though, over here, my Gors are kind of pushing in, just trying to swamp this Graveguard. Unfortunately, I did push these Ungors in, and that was definitely a bit of a mistake. I do have my Centaurs out here on the flank, though, just there to zone away. And I have Morghurs over here nuking down these skeletons. Now it's got flank shots in, and it's doing quite a bit of hurt, as you can see, taking off about 16 models there. Some Bestigors have fled. These were the guys who got hit by the by one of those nasty, by that nasty Wind of Death, so they're really beat up. But the Korok's Man Rippers holding their ground against this graveyard, and these Skeleton Spears aren't really going to be able to do very much. As you can see, rock going in on the spears, and now my cavalry is just plowing straight into this with these Vargulfs, these Vargeists, trying to encircle them. The Poison Warhounds will keep these guys on the ground, at least the Vargeists, and I'm trying to tear them up with the Centaurs and the Sons of Goros. As you can see, the Vargeists are falling apart very, very quickly. Warp Gaze has hit them, so they're not going to be able to take off, and I plan to delete them right here and now. Fellbats are trying to interfere, but it's not going to really save these guys. Vargulf is doing pretty well, but not that well, and Morghur has regen, so all these units, well, the Vargulf doesn't do too much damage actually per hit, so it's going to suffer. Unfortunately, the Lockdown does melt on the Warp Gaze does melt on the or stop on the affecting the Vargeist. But I'm raising my first unit of Chaos Spawn off the infantry, and that will encircle these guys and definitely put them down for good. These have very low, both these units have very low armor, so Chaos Spawn actually performed pretty well against them. Fortunately, these Gorge are being chased off. They kind of got trashed eventually by the mix of Crypt Ghouls and Skeletons. But now I'm pushing it back in with the Hounds, just trying to deal with these Vargeist and Vargulf. Morsley is definitely being shut down by these Fellbats, and as you can see, they're even doing some damage. Bats do have fairly high melee defense, so they can actually kind of hold down pretty well. I actually find them useful to, and here you can see, Bestigor's doing pretty well. Spear's trying to tie down, but they're going to get terror out of it, I think. But Bats actually perform pretty well against units with low melee attack, so if you're ever looking for something to support your cavalry, or something like that against, if you're trying to get your cavalry into some opponent's backline, and you want to shut down their spears, for example, Bats are not a bad choice for supporting that sort of action. The main thing is that because you can obviously do Raise Dead, that's usually a more economical and efficient proposition. The Warhounds do get terror routed over here, and they simply flee from Manfred, which means they stop poisoning him, and that means he's able to just kind of walk away and take off. Actually, it looks like he jumps into these Gores, and so I'm just trying to beat him down a bit. He is healing a little bit, but not quite enough to tank through that. Got another unit of Chaos Spawn down, and they're just tearing through these Skeletons. And I'm kind of, now Morghur's in a pretty strong spot. He's being hit by Spirit Leech, but that's honestly a bit of a waste, I think, at this point, because he's so high on HP, and he's nowhere near his regen cap. He still has over 2,000 HP to regen. With the help of these Gores, these Bats are kind of falling apart. My opponent does dive into the Sons of Goros over here with Manfred, and Manfred's definitely hurting him pretty bad, but as you can see, they're holding it on Graveyard, they're holding on Spearman. These guys have been doing an absolutely awesome job just holding the line. Another unit of Spears. The biggest problem, it is a bit like playing Orcs with the Beastmen. All their units are constantly routing off, especially if there's terror or fear on the field, but they'll hopefully come back. The Vestigors are already recovering. As you can see, the Eye of Morsley is just holding its own, and now my opponent's army is finally just disintegrating. I finally caught Manfred right here with the Centaurs and just beat him down, lay the smack down him. And the Vargulf actually quite a bit of HP, so it takes a while to just disintegrate, despite the pretty high rate of falling apart there. So definitely pretty good game. Definitely good game to my opponent here. Was a pretty fun setup, and I definitely had fun doing a bit of a unique build. I've been having a lot of fun with Eye of Morsley. As you can see, racked up 160, almost 159 kills there. And Sons of the Korok's Man Rippers did absolute work. They're absolutely beastly against. They are anti-large, and they don't have as good of an anti-infantry performance as normal Bestigors. Or at least they're not as quick to deal with infantry because their charge bonuses are lower. So that's and their raw melee attack, I think, is about comparable, maybe, but their melee damage is a little bit lower as well. Their weapon strength. So, but they have much higher melee attack, so they can actually hold for a very, very long time against something like Graveguard, which has very pitiful combat stats. Graveguard's biggest advantage is its huge melee defense and armor, more so than it's the amount of damage it actually dishes out, and that's why they perform pretty well against squishy infantry. But Vargulf's got a lot of work done, but I'm not entirely sure what units they got this work done against. I had a lot of cheap infantry on the field. The Crypt Ghouls did amazing work against the Gores, and I was definitely shocked by that at the end there. Bestigors got torn up, but then again, they did hold the front line against the Graveguard fairly effectively. Some of the Gores performed very well, some of them not so well, some simply got routed off. There was a lot of routing going on. The Centaurs definitely dishing out a lot of hurt to the large units, dealt with the Vargeists, dealt with the Vargulfs for most part, dealt with Manny and Morghur, of course. Well, there's no way of knowing what his spawn did, but his spawn definitely helped tear through a lot of these squishy squishy low armor enemy units. So definitely was a bit of an interesting game. Seeing the Vargulfs on the field was a bit of a surprise. They had obviously just force pathed through my units, and there wasn't much I could do to stop them. I hadn't brought Minotaurs with this comp. I definitely liked Warp Gaze to shut down those Vargeists once they dove in. That really was, I think, pretty crippling, because my opponent couldn't take them off, couldn't get them out of combat fast enough, and they just kind of disintegrated, got encircled and crushed. So yeah. I do hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. I am posting up quick match content every day, so that way you can get every daily updates. Hopefully, I will be getting more Wolfric gameplay up soon. I appreciate you all for watching, and wyvern out.